You are now listening to the Real Table Podcast with Michael Carter.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Table Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Carter, and it is great to be here as always. I hope you've been keeping up with the latest episodes and stuff, and if not, don't forget, you can go back and watch them all. Last week we did The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is probably a movie that some of you have never heard of before, unless you're an avid movie watcher, unless you keep up. But it is a great movie that came out, I think, in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, 2019. But last week, that's what we did. This week, we're going to do something a little bit different for Black History Month here at the Real Table Podcast. And I think it's important that we're highlighting Black films, Black filmmakers, and just the Black stories that are being told. I think it's just super important, just because, you know, diversity is really important. And as a Black man, I think still to this day, you hear from actors, you hear from directors and filmmakers, and it's still hard for them to get jobs, to get work, to get their projects greenlit. You know, there's some actors that have great bodies of work, and they still struggle. They struggle to find work in Hollywood. Does them dirty, right? Does them dirty from time to time. So I am glad that here at the Real Table Podcast, we can do that. We can highlight these conversations. I can invite people on. We can have really cool, healthy, unique conversations about diversity and about diversity in film. So today, we're going to get to the film soon. It's going to be a Marvel film, Blade, 1998. We'll get there, and when we do, I'm excited. I watched it today for the very first time in full. I think I've seen bits and pieces of Blade 2 maybe, and maybe even 3, Blade Trinity. But, man, Blade 1998. We'll get there. But before we get there, I like to talk about movie news. So let's dig into what's going on in Hollywood. Is any new trailers? There are new trailers. There's a couple new trailers that I want to highlight specifically. The first, this one is, I'm not too high on this film. It's going to do well at the box office. It's going to make its money, but I'm not too high on it. The new How Do You Train Your Dragon movie, and it's not a sequel to any of the other 3 original animated movies. It's actually a remake. So the remake finally gets a full-length trailer. We've seen the teaser, right? And the teaser looks very, very identical to the actual movie. And guess what? The trailer does no different. The trailer looks exactly like the original animated film. And I think I'm struggling. For me personally, it's been 25. It'll be 25 in March. Wow. 25 years ago. Is that right math? That's wrong math. Excuse me. 15 years ago. I was like 25. I was like, that doesn't sound right. No. 15 years ago. So over a decade now, they made the first How to Train Your Dragon, and it went on to be, it was a hit. They went on to do 3 movies, and they took their time with these movies, and it is some of the best animated movies out there. So they took their time with these ones, and they decided to do the Disney route, which is very interesting. From Universal. Part of me think this is just a ploy, or I shouldn't say ploy, but a play, because of their new theme park that's coming out. If you haven't heard yet, Universal Studios in Florida has a brand new park. It's called Epic Universe, and it has 4 to 5 different new spaces and areas, and one of the areas is the island of Berk, based off of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. So I think this is Universal kind of pulling that Disney move. We want people to be more invested in these products in our parks. They want something fresh. I shouldn't say fresh because this isn't fresh, but we want people to continue to be connected with these properties in our park. So, what better yet to do than to remake the very first one? And so I read from a reporter that I follow. He said that he talked to the director for this film, and he said that they didn't do a lot different with the script. They barely touched the script. I hope that's wrong. I hope he was just saying that, but boy, I think I'm very disappointed in the execution of this. I think my biggest issue is that they took what they had from the animated movies and just translated it. Which, for those of you who've seen The Lion King, I think that's 2019 version of The Lion King. It's a copy and paste, right? That's a problem for me. It's a copy and paste. You did nothing different to differentiate between the two, right? And so you even watch this trailer and it seems like the costuming and everything feels very identical and copy and paste to the 2010 film. And I think that's, for me, it's an issue because I'm like, if you're going to do this, make it a little different. Put a unique touch to it so we're not getting a shot from shot remake, right? I think that's the biggest issue that I see from this film. I'm like, what are you offering me different that I can't get from the 2010 movie? Like the 2010 movie is it's 15 years old, right? So it's like, what am I gonna get different? The animation still holds up well, right? So like, what's the difference? What's the win out of doing this film? Well, if you ask Universal, it's gonna be money. It's money. This is all a money thing. And for me personally, I think even if the movie is solid, the movie is solid, cool. You know, it is what it is, and that's cool, and that's good for the creative team. If the movie turns out to be solid, it's going to make its money. That's not the question. We're not questioning. I'm not questioning if it's going to make its money. It's going to make its money. I think I'm more questioning the artistic direction. You know, that's what I thought about when I first saw The Lion King. I gave Jon Favreau and Disney the opportunity. I'm like, they're going to do something different with this. They're not just going to copy and paste. They're going to give us something different. And guess what? They did not give us anything different. And now with these Disney live action remakes, depending on, I think Cruella might have been that one, is like, I'm like, everything else feels the same and there's no uniqueness to it. Aladdin was a little different. Maleficent was different, but it wasn't a great film for me. And I think that's just the issue with doing this stuff, doing this whole cycle of we're gonna redo it, and it's like there's no uniqueness to it that makes it great in a sense. So, new full trailer. I thought about it when I first saw the teaser. I'm like, this looks the same. It doesn't look anything different. I don't like the costuming. It's like we went to. And this is no disrespect to the creative team, but I'm like, you went to Spirit Halloween and get something identical and just put it on people. And was like, this is our interpretation. Instead of going, and this would have been the biggest slap in the face to Disney, in my opinion, if Universal would have took the time and resources to go, we're going to give them a really cool interpretation of this film, which still will put money in your parks. Right, but we're going to give them a really cool interpretation of this film and kind of rub it in Disney's face that we can take our properties and we can bring them to life differently, right? And so far, from the first trailer, I think Universal failed in that. They failed in every bit of that. It's going to make its money. It's going to be successful, which I think at the end of the day, that's all that matters. If it makes its money, but it's going to make its money. But the criticism, will it actually be good? Right. And if you're excited for this, I'm not gonna stand in your way. I'm not gonna shoot you down about it or talk dirty about you. I mean, if you like it, cool. Like that is good for you. But I'm also like, man, I think if you're gonna do this, put some unique touch to it. Put a unique touch to it. You're right. They hired the same director too, right? They hired the same director for the first animated movie and was like, we're gonna hire this guy to redo the same thing and we want an exact replica, right? So I think the criticism, the early criticism when the movie comes out is going to be huge for me, right? For me wanting to go see this movie, it's going to be huge to know that there's something worth it about this film beyond the fact that it's just a copy and paste, right? So June 13th is the release of the film, and hopefully this film proves I want to be proved different, right? I would love to come on this podcast in June and go, I was wrong. I would love to. But until then, I'm going to stand by it and go, not looking forward to this. I have issues with it, with how it looks, etc. Right? So, That's How to Train Your Dragon comes out June 13th. June 13th. You can go watch the trailer right now. Again, it looks fine. Nothing crazy for me. Viola Davis is in a new action thriller titled G20. New trailer just came out. It doesn't look it looks like it could be fun. It can be really entertaining. It's one of those action thrillers where you need the plot to be simple in a sense, and for the action to be cool, and that's enough. There are certain movies where you're not expecting this to be an incredible story and incredible acting, all this, like you just need it to be entertaining and fun. That's what this movie looks like from its trailer. I wasn't blown away, but it's Viola Davis. I will always support Viola Davis. That's my girl. So the premise is U.S. President Daniel Sutton. So Viola plays Daniel Sutton, a U.S. president, female U.S. president, period. She's black. And she must defend her family, fellow leaders in the world when the G20 summit in Cape Town, South Africa is taken over by terrorists. The plot sounds simple enough that if they can effectively hit the right beats, action scenes are good enough, it can be a solid film, right? It could be a solid film. That's what I'm hoping. It's got Anthony Anderson in it, which I'm pretty pumped to see Anthony Anderson. It also has Anthony Starr, who plays in The Boys. If you know The Boys, he plays Homelander. I'm pumped about that. Marsai Martin is in it. Marsai Martin, she's an up-and-coming actress who's been getting a lot of, I won't say a lot of roles, but she's been getting into some stuff, and it's really cool to see her in something. So movie looks solid. Excuse me. It's directed by Patricia Riggin, which I don't think Patricia has directed a lot of stuff. She's best known for directing the 2007 film Under the Same Moon and Disney Channel original movie Lemonade Mouth. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm not expecting anything crazy out of this. I hope it turns out to be just super fun, right? I hope it's not too cheesy, but it's just a good action flick. I think sometimes that's all we need in this world. We don't need everything to be great, but a quality action film. Plot is nothing different, nothing too mind blowing. It's something we've seen before, but if it's good, I'm always down for it. So that's G20. It's got Viola Davis. It's coming to Prime. It's a Prime original. April 10th. So I'll be looking for that. Hopefully, it's a quality product. That's what I'm hoping for. All right, let's get into it. Blade. Let's talk it.
You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it. The real world.
For thousands of years, They have existed among us.
You keep your eyes open. They're everywhere. Chances are you've seen them yourself and didn't know it.
A secret nation.
Our livelihood depends on our ability to blend in.
With a lust for power.
We should be ruling the humans. These people are our food.
They've got their claws into everything. Politics, finance, real estate.
There's a war going on out there. He makes the weapons. I use them.
Now, one will lead them to conquer mankind.
Tonight, the age of man comes to an end.
We're gonna be gods.
And one will try to stop him dead.
There are worse things out tonight than vampires.
Like what?
Like me.
Half human.
Blade's mother was attacked by a vampire while she was pregnant.
Half immortal.
You got the best of both worlds. All our strengths, none of our weaknesses.
He is their greatest fear. And our only hope.
It's open season on all vampires.
Wesley Snipes. Stephen Dorff.
You're one of them, aren't you?
No, I'm something else.
Blade.
So I actually got roasted by my brother and my father for not seeing this today as I'm recording this. It's Wednesday for me. Wednesday, February 12th. I got roasted by my dad and my brother for not seeing this movie. And I understand and I get it because it's a classic. I think growing up, here and there, my dad would let me watch R-rated movies. It just depended on what it was. But this wasn't one of those ones. I do remember him watching it, going to see it, but I was never old enough. And so I missed seeing those movies when it came out. And I just never made it back around to it. Now, there are some movies that have come out like around this time frame, like the late 90s, early 2000s, that era, that are rated R, that I have seen as I've grown up. But Blade isn't one of them. I've seen bits and pieces of, I think, Blade 2. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it. And maybe bits and pieces of Trinity, maybe. But I've never seen Blade in its entirety. And I must say, first off, I gotta shout out this movie and talk about how cool and how unique it is that Blade is the reason why we have Marvel, right? Marvel Studios. Blade is the reason why we have Marvel Studios. It is the reason why Captain America, Brave New World, starring a black Captain America, is coming out on Friday. It's the reason for it, right? The Spider-Man didn't come out before Blade. X-Men didn't come out before Blade. A lot of the Marvel products, Marvel characters, or Marvel titles weren't around. Blade was the first of its kind, right? And it set something really cool in motion, which it has a ripple effect. And that's why you ask certain people, you ask the film community. I don't know how the film community as a whole feels about it. But if you ask the nerds, which is, I'm one of the nerds, but I got an ear to the streets. You ask the streets, you ask the nerds, you ask the people that grew up with this, you ask the people that consistently watch superhero movies. They will tell you that Blade really was the trendsetter. It really started it all, right? Directed by Stephen Norrington, written by David S. Goyer. David is he's a well-known writer. He's a well-known writer writing a lot of superhero stuff. He contributed to the Dark Knight films, more importantly, the Batman Begins. He helped set that franchise in motion. and he helped create the stories for Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. I know he helped write. Did he help write Man of Steel? He wrote Man of Steel. Helped with the story. It's along with Christopher Nolan, which I didn't know. I knew that. And then I think he just produced Batman vs Superman. No, he wrote Batman vs Superman as well with Chris Terrio. So David S. Goyer is really familiar, and he's really had his hand into the superhero world and superhero sphere. And it's so cool. Like, as I go back in time to see like somebody like him and how he was a part of the impact, right? Because again, this movie is just pivotal when it comes to superhero movies. Stephen Norrington actually doesn't have an extensive filmography, I should say. I don't even know that's the right. Death Machine in 1994, Blade in 98, The Last Minute in 2001, and then The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2003. I'm more familiar with that one. That's also a comic book, a movie based off of a comic book. But Stephen Norrington, which, interesting. I wonder what he's doing now. Actually, it looked like he stopped directing in 2003. Yeah, I wonder what he's doing now. But I think it's cool to see, like for this movie, like it wasn't like a Steven Spielberg. It wasn't nobody on that level, but it was somebody like Stephen Norrington who was a part of history, right? He's a part of history. And watching this movie for the first time, like, dude, like this movie it's incredible. For a 1998 film, and for me to watch it in 2025 for the very first time, this movie is sweet, right? It is a well put together film. It has that late 90s, early 2000 vibes. Like you can feel it as you watch the movie. You see it in some of the shots, the slow motion, the action sequences. Like you see it in that. But still, like as you're watching it, when I think about those movies, there's always movies that we've grown up with, or movies from the 80s, or even the 90s, 70s. Those old movies, that we look to as movies that are like classics, or movies that have really good rewatchability, right? They're rewatchable. You can go back to it. I think this one definitely belongs in the fold. It is a well put together, well crafted film. It's not overbloated. It's not a mess. And that's also the best part about a film like this, when you're starting out just learning about a character. Back in the day, at least, they used to, like, you think about the Spider-Man movie. You even think about the first X-Men. When they first do these movies, they started off giving you a plot that's somewhat simple. They don't overcomplicate it. They don't give you too many characters that are too convoluted or whatever. Like, they give you something nice to start off with, and then they experiment, right? And so that's what they did in Blade in 1998. They didn't give us too much, and didn't make it too complicated, right? Especially with a black Superman or a black superhero, a black lead, right? You don't want to do too much, right? But when you got a guy like Wesley Snipes, right? When you got a guy like Wesley Snipes, I think you're doing just fine, right? Especially back in this time, and even before Blade, Wesley Snipes was in quite a bit, dating back to '86. Quite a bit dating back to '86. Mo Better Blues. Actually, he was in Major League. I'm trying to hit on films that are probably more well known. Major League. Maybe if you know Kings of New York. Mo Better Blues, which I said before, New Jack City. Jungle Fever. Huge collaborator with Spike Lee, by the way. So Jungle Fever, Mo Better Blues is Spike Lee. let's see, White Man Can't Jump. I think that's an iconic film, which don't kill me, y'all. I have not seen it. It is one of those movies that I've heard of and I've known of. Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, White Man Can't Jump. Let's see. Passenger 57. Demolition Man. Fan. One Night Stand. Murder at 1600. U.S. Marshals. And then we meet Blade. So Wesley had a run. Wesley was in a lot of stuff. And he had a huge run of films before, I guess, after Blade is when he kind of fell off after Blade Trinity, probably. But again, when you got a guy like Wesley Snipes, you really can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. And I loved everything about Blade. I loved how cold and dark it felt. The cinematography wasn't bright, it wasn't warm like that. No, it was cold and dark. You know, very, very similar to the vampire-esque stuff. Cold, dark, right? And again, it was Marvel's first big film. It's wild to see like a rated R movie like this have this much. I wouldn't say have this much, but it became as successful as it was. Right, it became successful. It's why we have all these movies. It's why all this stuff. This is why we're in a superhero phase. This is why we are here. So it's so cool just to see that. But the success of this movie made way for all the Marvel Universe films. So after Blade is when we got the X-Men, the Spider-Mans, and eventually the Daredevils, and all this other stuff. Just because of the success of the film, studios saw that you can make money off of this stuff. This is profitable. They didn't see the big money moves, as Disney saw in a long run. They didn't see that yet, but it was profitable. You knew it was profitable and it can make money. So you could tell the early 2000 vibes are strong in this movie. Like, I mean, the slow motion moments, for the action scenes. Some of the dialogue, some of the camera angles, like it just feels very. It's very that era. It feels 1998. Like you can tell. I'm like this is 1998, early 2000s. Like it is in that framework. The music, the action music, it was so cool. It was so cool. I enjoyed it. Now for those people that don't know, I mentioned Marvel and I mentioned superhero. Blade is a unique superhero. He's unique. He's different. So Blade is what we call, he's a daywalker. Blade is a daywalker, which he's a human with vampire strengths. He doesn't have their weaknesses, but he fights against vampires. He's a daywalker. So he doesn't have all the stuff that vampires usually have. So he has a mixture of all these things that make him really pretty much a threat. And so when we get into the story, we hear from these other vampires are like, oh, there's that daywalker, that dude, there's Blade. And we get into this world and Blade is already established. He's already this guy that's out to get these vampires. Which the beginning sequence is really cool. Really, really cool. This guy and this girl, and they go to this club, basically go to this underground club. And the underground club turns out to be full of vampires. And the guy is a human. And so he's eaten alive by these vampires. But before he can get eaten alive, Blade is there. Blade is there to save the day. And he basically puts a whooping on a lot of these vampires. And it's the dopest thing ever. And it's one of those things, again, when you see him jump and you see him move, it's not as fluid as we would as an action scene would be in this present day, but it's still really cool to just see it happen because it is a product of 1998. It is a product of the early 2000s, right? So it's expected. It's expected that this is what it is, right? So the story of Blade, so the movie starts with him being born. This woman is attacked by a vampire, and she goes into premature labor in like 1967. The doctor saves the baby. The woman dies, but then 30 years later, Blade is the vampire hunter. Blade, the baby, was saved in 67 because of vampire hunter. And so he's a human vampire hybrid with all these abilities and stuff like that. And again, the whole club, the rave club scene is sweet. And he's looking for this guy named Frost, basically. Deacon Frost, who is a vampire. And Deacon Frost is a vampire that's not a pure blood, what they call him, or what they call themselves. He's not pure blood. He was turned into a vampire. And Deacon is just power hungry, and he wants to basically get this blood god to come, and he needs Blade. He needs Blade to do it. So Blade goes through all these things, trying to find him, trying to find Deacon, and basically trying to stop Deacon from bringing in this blood god. And it's a cool movie. I thought the plot was, it feels super duper simple, and then they don't overcomplicate it. There's other couple characters. There's a hematologist named Karen that basically gets bitten, but Blade and the guy that Blade was raised by, which his name is Whisper. Blade and Whisper save Karen, and they save her, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna take you back to where you need to be. Be careful. They're looking for you." And it turns out Blade was just using Karen as a bait, and then Karen comes along on this whole expedition, which is super cool. But this movie, again, I think I enjoyed everything about this movie. I think I would have wanted, if there's anything different about the movie, I wanted more of that relationship or that hole that he's missing from his mother. Frost mentions later on about the absence of his mother, and how that Blade has gone around looking for the killer of his mother who killed his mother, which also, spoiler alert, his mother is still alive, but his mother's only still alive because Frost turned his mother, or brought her back to life, basically brought her back to life. And it's not actually his mother. She's a completely different person, but it is his mother. But yeah, I want to see that whole interaction. I would like to see deeper interactions between Blade and the absence of his mother. I think that's one of those things where if I could go back, or if I could see them going back, dig deep into that just a little bit more to see that tension within Blade, right? Because he eventually loses Whistler. As the movie goes on, Whistler dies, so he loses Whistler. So he loses this figure that he's known the most, and that has practically raised him, and so he loses him. And so we see kind of the effects of that. But I would like to see, I want to see him. He lost his mother. Let me see the hole in his heart. Let me see that space, that gap, the tension, or the frustration, the anger that will probably be coming out of him, right? Or he might not care. But knowing Blade is a very, very strong, basically a character that doesn't give a crap, I think he would have some kind of relational issues there. And it kind of solved them too, which is where I would want to see that thing filled if they were to ever if they, go back in time and say, hey, what is something that we could do different? Fill that void in that plot point. I want to see that plot point filled just a little bit more. The third act. The third act is my favorite. It is my favorite. I love the third act. So Blade eventually gets captured, and they're putting him in this machine, or putting him in this thing. It's not really a machine, but a thing to drain his blood. They need his blood. Blade's blood is special. Again, he's a hybrid of human, and a vampire. So he has special blood. So Frost needs his blood to bring this blood god down, whatever. So he needs Blade's blood. And so obviously Blade gets captured, gets his blood. Frost awakens this blood god. It's this weird scene that feels very dark. It makes me just a little uncomfortable. But eventually Blade is rescued by Karen. And eventually Blade has to decide if he's going to take Karen's blood or he's going to die, basically. Or he's going to die. He needs blood. Also, Blade, it makes Blade different. Blade uses this serum to help him. To help him in his powers and to quench his thirst, basically, like blood does for vampires. Blade doesn't. He doesn't use human blood. That's not Blade's thing. He doesn't use human blood. So he uses the serum. Obviously, Blade doesn't have the serum. Takes Karen's blood, and Blade becomes this whole new animal. Basically, it's like he's leveled up on a different level, and he's ready to fight Frost. And fighting Frost is a little harder than expected because Frost has the powers of the blood god or whatever. He has this. He's a little bit different than what he was before. He has more powers. He's more powerful. And so this whole fight scene is beautiful. And then I think it's really cool. Just again, it's in 1998. You expect, okay, these fight scenes are going to be a little lackluster compared to today, but I'm like, no, this is better than a lot of fight scenes, a lot of action scenes, a lot of movies now that you see today. And again, it's that level of detail that they had back in the day. You know, they don't make films like they do anymore. You get certain films, but not all the time do you get those films that are really articulated about details, about practical effects. We see it coming back, right? The Gareth Edwards in the world, Denis Villeneuve coming back, you know, bringing the practical stuff into the feature and into these fields again. We don't see a lot of that, but this one, the fight scenes are really intricate, really cool. There's a campiness to it because it's a product of its time, but it's still really good and it's still sweet. Right, it was super cool, like to watch how Blade finished off for us in the end. Super dope, super awesome. Blade basically takes his serum. He doesn't need the serum anymore right now, so he takes the serums and he puts the serum into Frost, and then it makes Frost basically explode and die. So I really liked just about every aspect of this movie. Again, there's that void of the mother that I wanted, especially since we see her. I wanted more as the movie was drawing up, as the movie was going on. I wanted to see more of that aspect. But this also brings another issue. I'm gonna say issue, but it brings another point to mind. And I think this particular thing it's mostly for Kevin Feige. And like, we need a Blade movie, man. We need another Blade movie. I think if what this film just proved to me, how simple and how effective this character can be if you take what's been given. Now, I don't read a lot of Blade comics. Can't speak too much on the Blade comics and storylines. I can't. Right? That's where my nerdism kind of stops. That's the line where I'm at, where I'm like, I haven't read enough comics yet to know the intricacies of Blade, to know the intricacies of this story. But what I do know is that The very first Blade that came out in 1998 still holds up well here in the year 2025, that I think Kevin Feige and Marvel need to figure it out. I don't want to blame Mahershala Ali because I don't think he's anywhere to blame. I bet he really wants to do the role. And actually, I'm really thankful that Mahershala Ali is still attached. But Kevin Feige and Marvel need to get it done. They need to figure out how to bring Blade into this period. And I don't care about connecting with other Marvel movies. That's not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for a Blade movie that is dope with tight action sequences, right? And it goes back to that whole, we've been in this phase with Marvel movies where people have made criticisms on the CGI. This movie needs a good technical director, somebody that sees it, knows it, and that can put the uniqueness that made 1998 good, put that into a new era Blade movie. That's what we need. The actor is there. He's getting older. So time is of the essence, in a sense. In my opinion, time is of the essence. Right? That's what we need to see it happen. I just need Kevin Feige and Marvel to get together. We finally have the Fantastic Four on the way, which is awesome. X-Men is eventually coming. Michael, what's the other character you look for? I want to see Blade now. I want to see Marvel Studios. I want to see Kevin Feige. I want to see them get Blade done. You have the actor. I'd even argue this is that one movie. This is that movie where you go get the best director who can really tap into that horror action thriller, a dope director, and say, here's the keys. This is the framework. This is what we want you to work out of. Right? Here's the keys. Create a dope movie. That's all you need to do at this point, right? And I need this to happen. I need this to happen. I know a lot of people are very pessimistic about the future of Blade, and I get it. We were told, I think in 2019, yeah, before the pandemic, we were told in 2019. No, maybe 2020. I think 2020, 2021, whatever. We were told a while back. That Blade was coming. And now we're here, and it feels like, I don't know. I need him to come. I need movement on that next film, because this 1998 film is gold. And it proves that if you just get the right character groupings, you don't even have to let it fully connect with the MCU yet. But you just get the right characters, get the right story, and get the right filmmaker behind it. It can be really, really good. And potentially, I won't say it will be better, because 1998 Blade is good. Right? 1998 Blade is good. Wesley Snipes' Blade is undefeated. Stephen Norrington, dope. David S. Goyer, dope. But if you get the right people are in Hollywood. The right people are there. You get the right people together. You can make the next one really, really good, and as good as the first one. And this is the one thing where I do appreciate it. From the other perspective, is that Kevin Feige, they've said it a lot. They're trying to get this right. They don't want to just put out a crappy film. They want to honor and respect Blade, especially because they know that 1998 Blade is the reason why they even have jobs. Right? It's the reason why Marvel Studios is where it is. It's the reason why we had the Avengers, Spider-Man, all these other characters. The 1998 Blade movie is iconic, and they want to do the character justice. And I respect it. But get it right, and get it right fast. Time is of the essence, right? So that's my rant on the new Blade. I want a new Blade because Blade 1998 is fantastic. It is fantastic. Okay. I think I'm just about through here on the Real Table Podcast. I'm going to watch Blade 2. I want to watch it probably tomorrow. So Thursday for me. I'm going to watch Blade 2 and then eventually Trinity. I heard Trinity's not as good, but I'm going to watch the other two. I don't know if I'm going to do any episodes on the other two. I might. We'll see. But I'll definitely do another or a few more. I think at this point, I think there's time. Captain America Brave New World comes out this weekend. I'm going to go see that on Thursday, so tomorrow. I'll see that Thursday. I'll have some reactions. I mean, by this point, I'll probably have a reaction out. But I'll do an episode next week. Be looking out for Captain America Brave New World episode next week. I'm going to talk about my thoughts about the film. I'm going to get spoilery down the line of the episode, but I'm going to start off not being spoiler heavy. And then as the episode goes on, I'll get some spoilers and get my thoughts. The reactions seem very okay. Doesn't seem wowing right now, which is okay. I think I've made my stance with these Marvel films. I've made a stance where I want the movie just to be fun. I'm not looking it to be this grand whatever. I want the movie to be fun. I want it to be enjoyable. And if the movie is fun, and if it is enjoyable. Oh, whoa. It says Anthony Mackie has revealed that Kendrick Lamar recorded a new song for Captain America Brave New World. Well, pause. Oh, wow. Wow. I want to look more into that. I'm big on this Kendrick kick, y'all. Kendrick is like my favorite rapper right now. And not even right now. He's been my favorite rapper for a long time. But this Kendrick Drake stuff had me amped because hip hop is alive. And also Kendrick's putting out some hot stuff. I don't know if that's true. I hope it's true. If it's true, oh my gosh, it is true. Rolling Stones reported 4 hours ago. They also celebrate the beauty and mastery of Lamar's craft. Oh, he has a new song. We'll see if it comes out. That's dope. Okay. Just kind of got... I'm pumped. Kendrick's had another... So we get another new Kendrick song. Hopefully it's dope. But yeah, I made my stance on Marvel. I want this stuff to be... want these movies to be fun. They don't need to be amazing. I want it to be entertaining. That's all. That's what these films are supposed to do at this point. So people are going to have their thoughts and they're going to have their opinions. And it is what it is. I just want it to be a fun movie, fun comic book movie. That's also quality at the same time, right? So we'll see. I'll have my thoughts on that next week. And then probably also as well next week, I'll do another Black History Month movie. I'll do another movie for Black History Month. I think I have an idea of what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say yet. I think I have an idea of what I want to do. But yeah. Thank you for tuning in to the Real Table Podcast. I appreciate this. If you're watching this, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment if you're going to watch this movie. Comment if you've seen this movie, right? And if you're listening to this episode, share it and tag me. Share it and tag me at the Real Table Pod. I think that's my Instagram handle. Yeah, share it and tag me. At the Real Table Pod on Instagram. On Twitter at the Real Table Podcast, right? Tag me into this if you're listening and you're watching, and then share it with somebody, and then comment in the YouTube section. Like, I want to hear your thoughts. I really want to hear your thoughts. Your thoughts are important to me, right? Your thoughts are important to me. So, Captain America: Brave New World out this weekend. If you're gonna go see it, cool, awesome. Let me know also for that one too. If you go see it, let me know what you think. I want to hear what you think. All right, I appreciate y'all. The love and the support is felt. I've seen it. I love it. And keep hanging with me on this podcast. Keep hanging on me. Keep hanging with me. I'm going to keep bringing on more people. I've got a special guest in the works. I'm excited. This guy is in some cool spaces and he has cool knowledge regarding superheroes, horror movies, and stuff like that. So he's agreed to come on. I'm not sure when I'm going to have him on, though. I want it to be a good episode. And I want it to be a good topic, or et cetera, all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a fun episode. And then, again, as movies come out, we'll get the podcast going, as always. So I love y'all. Y'all be safe out there. Peace. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me today on the Real Table Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and even comment. I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear your opinions. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Real Table Pod and on Twitter at The Real Table. And don't forget to also check me out on therealtable.com for news, articles, and reviews. I will see y'all soon. Peace.